Hi. And welcome to Movie Plots. Today we recap the film Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Spoilers ahead. A team of camels pulls a car through the desert. Before a plane flies over and hits the man driving it into the sand. The pilot is named Jedediah. Jed jumps out and lands on the car, hijacking it, while his son flies the plane. The owner tries to catch up, but Jed flees right away. The owner receives various goods from a monkey in the vehicle's back seat, including his boots and water. Max Rokotansky, a recluse who makes a life in the desert, pulls out his tiny whistle from the waist of one of his boots and ritualistically blows on it. Max ascends a ridge and notices other desert travelers heading in the direction of Bartertown. As Max reaches the town, he joins a group of people heading into the caves and encounters the Collector, a guy who is negotiating trades for commodities with passers-by. Max demands entrance for an hour so that he can track down the pilot who took his stuff. When Max offers to exchange his skills for material possessions, the Collector responds by telling him the brothel's full. When a guard starts to threaten Max with knives, Max pulls a gun and shoots his headpiece off. So the Collector consents to take him in, after Max hands him his weapons. The streets of Bartertown are populated by both residents and criminals, and Max observes his car and camels being sold, but is drawn away to meet with the colorful and captivating leader of Bartertown known as Auntie. After a brief conversation, Auntie orders her security personnel to attack Max. He defeats them all quite quickly, though he is the first to survive the audition, according to Auntie. Auntie and the Collector say that Bartertown is an effort to rebuild civilization in the wake of the catastrophe, which has eliminated all forms of rule of law. Bartertown lacks either an atomic or a petroleum-based energy economy, and relies on methane gas, which is created from pig shit. A subterranean cavern called Underworld is the source of all methane, where pigs are kept and herded by slaves for their poop. Max is also shown a giant armored man carrying a little man on his back, who goes by the name Master Blaster. The smaller man is Master, an educated dwarf who rules Underworld, and is guarded by Blaster. Recently Master has been using embargoes to cut off the town's energy supply, to try to oust Auntie as the ruler of Bartertown. Auntie wants to keep Master and use his intelligence to continue running the reactor, so she wants Max to kill Blaster in a fair fight. She offers him a supply of methane, the return of his car, and his camels. In return, Max will put in a full day of work at Underworld, where he can size up his opponent. He encounters a kind prisoner known as Pig Killer. A mechanic works on Max's car since the Master wants it, but the vehicle is booby-trapped with explosives, presenting a challenge for the mechanic.
Hey Max.
Max refuses to disarm the bomb when Master orders him to. Because of this defiance, Master becomes furious and instantly imposes another embargo on Auntie. As the city's electricity is on the verge of going out, Master forces Auntie into declaring that Master Blaster now rules Bartertown, by cunningly activating the city's intercom,
Master Blaster,
making Auntie's voice audible across the entire city. Max is made to disarm the explosives in his car by Master after he lifts the embargo. Max realizes the alarm causes pain to Blaster, and tests him with his whistle, finding it to be an effective weapon. After being freed from the Underworld, Max agrees to slay Blaster for Auntie. Auntie demonstrates the Thunderdome, a gigantic dome-shaped cage that acts as a fighting arena, and is Bartertown's only means of dispute resolution, as well as its main source of entertainment. Master Blaster parades through town after their victory, before Max initiates a fight. Iron Bar tells the pair to remember the law.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
When Max and Blaster get to the arena, they are strapped to bungee swings. They must attempt to kill one another using any means necessary, including the weapons that have been placed inside. As everyone watches on, both Max and Blaster display their prowess, with Blaster bouncing on Max, and Max bouncing around the dome. Max eventually uses his whistle to come out on top, taking off Blaster's helmet with a sledgehammer. He notices that his opponent is slow in the head, and spares his life. Max apologizes for defeating a foe who didn't even realize his own role in the whole thing, saying this wasn't part of the arrangement.
What do you mean, deal?
Master demands to know the details of this agreement and threatens to further punish the city. Suddenly Blaster is killed by Iron Bar. The crowd starts to chant 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. And Max is not allowed to exit the arena. In order to calm the audience, Annie claims that Max broke their agreement by not executing Blaster personally. She then introduces Max to the Wheel of Fate for his sentencing. Max spins the wheel to learn his fate, and the punishment written on the vein he gets is gulag. He is tied to a horse backwards, and sent into the desert with a comical mask on. Auntie begins running the place with an iron fist, and Pig Killer sends Max's monkey to him with supplies. When Max's horse perishes, his monkey reappears and provides a goatskin containing water for him. Max begins to stumble back to Bartertown while carrying the monkey, until ultimately collapsing. He is eventually discovered by a person who has been outfitted for desert survival. It is a girl named Savannah, who resides in a canyon with several kids. Savannah brings Max to her house, and announces that she has discovered their savior. A few days later, Max awakens, and is perplexed to see all the kids around him. They tell Max the story of Captain Walker. Walker was the captain of a passenger jet carrying people trying to flee the post-apocalyptic cities. The youngsters are descendants of the passengers from a plane that crashed in the desert years ago. The children have been convinced that Walker will guide them to Tomorrow Land, a haven of civilization. And they are convinced that he is Max. Max informs them that he is not Captain Walker, and that the apocalypse has destroyed society. He assures them they will remain in the valley forever. After becoming discouraged by Max's revelations, Savannah decides to leave with a small group of the kids to search for paradise. To prevent them from leaving, Max stops Savannah by knocking her out and tying her up. But Screwloose sets them free in the middle of the night. When Max and a few kids follow after them, they discover the group attempting to save one of the kids from a sinkhole in the desert. Even with Max's assistance, they fail. Later that night they see the distant lights of Bartertown, and sneak into the city. Max knows that they need to free Master, and use his brains to help build a new home. They are quickly spotted by Underworld's guards, and a fight ensues. Pig Killer starts up a train with an attached caboose to escape from Underworld. The damage to the city is heavy, however Auntie knows they can rebuild if they can recapture Master. She and her warriors pursue the road train for several miles, while Max and the older kids fight off Auntie's men. At one point Annie seizes Master, and has her mechanic decouple the caboose, but Max grabs Master and leaps onto the train before it takes off. Coming to the end of the line, they see Jedediah's young son, who tells them all to raise their hands.
Anybody moves, and the dead's me!
However, he runs when he sees that Auntie's crew is approaching.
What's it, we're all dead, me?
Max and his group chase the boy to his father's hideout, where Max tells Jedediah that they'll have to escape in the pilot's plane, so he agrees. With Auntie bearing down, Jedediah says that there isn't enough runway between them and Auntie to take off. Using a vehicle captured by Screwloose, Max drives out ahead of the plane at high speed, heading directly toward Auntie's lead vehicle driven by Iron Bar. Max leaps out just before the collision, and Jedediah's plane takes off safely, with Master looking dapper as ever. Max is met by Auntie and a few of her crew, who point their rifles at him. Auntie, however, simply acknowledges his skills, and lets Max go, leaving him in the desert. Jedediah flies his passengers far into the desert, where they eventually come across the city of Sydney, recognizable by its landmarks. They settle there with Savannah telling the story of Max, saying they keep the lights on in the city in case he ever returns. And the movie ends. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is a 1985 Australian post-apocalyptic action film, directed by George Miller and George Ogilvie and written by Miller and Terry Hayes. Originally a post-apocalyptic Lord of the Flies film about a tribe of children who are found by an adult. It became the third Mad Max film when George Miller suggested that Max is the man who finds the children. The film takes place 15 years after the second, and 20 years after the first. The title of the movie was Desert World during production, to keep secret that a new Mad Max was being made. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.